Hey, everybody, welcome back. Devin UG, the original Grognard, sitting down here today. What are we looking at? I've kind of been looking forward to getting this one on the table. World at War 85, Storming the Gap, Lock and Load Publishing. This is the prototype. No, the retail, the Kickstarter hasn't been released yet. I haven't gotten an advanced copy or anything. This is just a prototype. So relax, because I know people always ask when I post it. So yeah, as being the prototype, you're gonna see differences between this copy and the final copy. Don't worry about it. Gameplay's pretty much the same anyways. So what are we looking at? Kind of funny. I sat down and I had done a video on World at War 85, the original release. I did a scenario from Death of the First Panzer, Whitman's Ghost, about, what, 2 months ago, I guess it was, 2.5, something like that. And so as I was going through the scenarios, it's like, all right, let's pull out something. I pull out one scenario, like, all right, use this map 2, pull out map 2, and I start looking over this. Oh, this is the scenario I had initially picked was the remake, a redo of the scenario that I had done a couple months ago. I was like, well, I don't think we want to redo that scenario again, so let's go with the next one. So I went with the next scenario in line. That looked like it wasn't too big, something that had enough variety to it, something I could get some gameplay down with and get some of the new core mechanics shown to people. So what are we looking at? Scenario 10, Zweite Gegenangriff. Gegenangriff. You would think with 3 years of high school German and 1 year of college German, I'd have a better grasp of the German language, but obviously not. Anyways, Zweite Gegenangriff. Second counterattack, basically. Spanberg, Westdeutschland. After the air-mobile vanguard was ambushed by a counterattack of the West German 6th Panzer Brigade, see the previous Scenario 9, Gegenangriff, the Soviet 20th Motor Rifle Division was forced to alter their route of advance. And Scenario 9 was actually the one I was going to do, but it was just a rehash of the one I had done 2 months ago, so I figured, no, we're not going to do that. As the West Germans were pressed back towards Kassel, they gained a temporary advantage by falling back on fresh reserve battalions. On the road to Kassel, near Spangenberg, the 15th Panzer Brigade found an opportunity of its own to lay into the oncoming regiments of the Soviet 20th Motor Rifle Division. Not motorized, motor rifle, there's a difference. In one section of the ensuing battle, troops from the 152nd Panzer Grenadier Battalion, coupled with the Leopard 1s from the 153rd Panzer Battalion, swung off-road and drove hard into the Soviet flank. So what's really cool is they've kind of got this little map here that goes along, since we're doing Scenario 10. See right there, Scenario 10. It tells you on the map where the scenario actually takes place. So right here. So you kind of see, and there's a master map at the very beginning of the scenario book. So you can kind of follow along. I think that's kind of cool. So, and I'll take a look at, I've said this before in the unboxing video I did for the prototype. I love the new layout of the scenarios where it's kind of like the old Avalon Hill, Panzer Leader, Panzer Blitz, Squad Leader scenario cards where you see exactly what the counters are. I love that. That is super. We've got a couple 3 pages of order of battle, and then a scenario essentials, playable area, map 3, top edge is north. That away. 10 turns, use 2 end-to-turn operation cards, and scenario special rules. West German helicopter pilot fatigue. 511 AHR uses only 1 formation card. Normally they have 2 formation cards, but evidently since they've been acting as kind of a fire brigade, zipping around all over the place, they're so tired they only get 1 activation card. Objectives. Now this is really cool. They lay out the objectives, A, B, C, and these aren't really objectives, but since, if you'll notice, the map cities, well, I guess you can't really see them because they've got counters all of them. They don't have names on them. So it's not like in the original World of War, it's just say, set up within 2 hexes of Volkerberg, whatever you have. So what they do now is they have you place out objective markers. See objective A, objective B, and then you can see objective C up there. And then they just say, all right, this is Spangenberg, West Germany, Schnellerode, Kohl. And then they tell you Place the Soviet red objective marker in 3U8, indicates all contiguous, I love that word, contiguous, hexes of that town plus 3U10, which is non-contiguous, which actually, if we look right here, was that one because it's kind of across the river and not really adjacent to any, so it's not really contiguous because they're not connected. Like I said, I like that word. So that tells you, okay, so that's objective A. And then when you go back to the scenario setup for the forces, I'll tell you, set up before the game in any hex of objective A. Well, now you know what objective A is, so they have that instead of saying, all right, in whatever town name it is. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the objective markers do sometimes play other roles, that they have variable point costs and at the end of a certain scenario, and however many victory point locations are controlled and how many points there were. So they do multiple roles. Victory conditions. When the West Germans must control 4 or more hexes of objective A at the end of turn 10. Ugh, I don't know if I'm going to pull that one off. That's going to be a little bit rough because I don't have a lot to attack with, and Soviets are in good defensive, well, I wouldn't say good defensive positions, but they're in defensive positions. And they do have 2 separate formations. So the Soviets do have 2 separate formations. This formation, I'm not going to pull out the formation card. So it's this formation here and this formation here. And you can tell that they're the different formations. And I kind of pointed this out. And if you played Nations at War, you kind of started, focus, damn it. Stupid autofocus. You've got this yellow band indicates, they're part of that formation. And occasionally you'll have some attached units like this Shilkas that have got this gray stripe on it. So they're an attached formation. Whereas if you notice, the second formation up here has got a blue stripe on it. So you can tell that they're different formations rather than the old system. They pretty much were all the same colored background, and they just had itty bitty bitty tiny font writing on it saying what formation they were with, which was a pain in the ass when you started mixing formations to try to find things. Now it's relatively easy. You can do it in an eyesight. Just look at what stripe it is. All right, granted, the attached units might get a little bit confusing, but you know what? That's all right. A lot of cards, a lot of charts. We got a couple player aid cards up here. We got this one that holds our formation deck and discards, plus it's the Soviet and Allies offboard artillery tracks. Soviets don't have any artillery in this one. And then you've got the turn track, weather track, all that other good stuff, and the NATO and Allies offboard artillery track. And so the West Germans they've got 2 loads, 2 batteries of DPICM that they can fire. And since most of the artillery can come in different flavors, at least you have a track right here, so you can put the little marker right there to remember what flavor of artillery it is. It either comes in 2x3 or 3x4. So you've got 2 artillery or 2 strikes of DPICM, and they're at 3x4. Pretty easy. Whole bunch of other charts all over the place. My other table here is just loaded with charts, holding boxes. I've got the scenario book, I've got the rule book, I've got the terrain effects chart, I've got the line of sight chart, I've got the sequence of play. A lot of charts, and I love it because sometimes it's easier just to have a bunch of charts laying around than trying to dig in the rule book for every little last rule. Also, what I went ahead and did is I pulled out these cards, which really are more for playing the game in miniature, because here you see the BTR 60. I kind of went over this in my unboxing, but if you're playing at 6mm, they're high explosive range. 15mm, they're high explosive range. 28mm, so, and plus their cost for buying them, and all the other good, plus their moves. It's mainly for playing the game in miniature version rather than hex and counter. But what I find these cards are good for is that it gives really big, I mean, you can just tell the difference between, the counter and what's printed on the card. So it's a little bit easier for these old eyes to see it. But it gives you, so you can at a glance see all the information really easy, even though it is a lot easier to see the counters now. But it also has any special rules it may have. It's a transport. It's an amphibious transport. And it's any special functions have amphibious ground transport, light armor target, and plus gives you the rules. So like here, Sager ATM has all the information. Anti-tank guided missile tells you what unit type it is. Special functions, minimum range, anti-tank guided missile, infantry support weapon. So all the pertinent information and where to find the rules for it are right there. Now, granted, if you know what all the icons on the card are, or on the counter are, it's real easy to spot it. So let's take a look. Minimum range anti-tank guided missile. Well, that's what this black triangle right here is. That means that there is a minimum range that I can fire this anti-tank guided missile at. I think it's 3 hexes. I can't fire at any target 3 hexes or less, or under 3 hexes. I'll have to go back and take a look at that. But I know 1.9.12. I know the exact rules where to find what the minimum range for the anti-tank guided missile is. Anti-tank guided missile. Well, you have this little colored number here. And I'll admit, when I first saw... now, this game has always had a lot of stats on it. I mean, your typical counter has got a lot of stats on it. Armor piercing, high explosive, armor, movement, close assault, all that good stuff. And not only that, they've got different colors for everything. I thought, how am I going to remember all these colors? What's green? What's blue? What's black? What's what? Oh, okay. Well, green is anti-tank guided missile. I know that because every time I look at an anti-tank guided missile counter or a unit that's equipped with anti-tank guided missiles, it's in green right there. See, that's green. So green, and since I know a Sager is an anti-tank guided missile, hey, I'm smart, aren't I? So green is anti-tank guided missiles. Blue is anti-aircraft weaponry. So it might seem a little bit overwhelming, but once you realize that, oh yeah, if you know what the equipment is, most people who play war games do know what equipment is for various nationalities, various time periods, or whatever their preferred nationality. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's a TOW. TOW is a missile weapon, so its numbers are going to be in green, reminding me it's a TOW. But anyways, anti-tank guided missile, rules 10.6.3 for that, and it's an infantry support weapon, which is also identified by this little diamond with the words infantry in it. Means it's an infantry support weapon, and where I find the rules for infantry support. So really, really cool. And they have these for every single unit in the game. So if you're kind of confused on what's going on with a unit, you just look to these cards and it tells you, it's like right here. Now, again, I'm talking about a bunch of different numbers, a bunch of different colors, and so you see the movement value is kind of half green, half blue. What the hell does that mean? Well, if it's a green circle, it's a transport. If it's half green, half blue, it's an amphibious transport, and it says it right here, transport amphibious. So that's it. It helps remind you what the iconography on the counters are. So that's a really huge help for those of us who sometimes get confused with lots of numbers, like I do. Anyways, Jesus, 13 minutes, I haven't even got the gameplay. That's what I get for just rambling on. All right, so what we're looking at here is that the West German forces have got 2 formations. Got an infantry Panzer formation with infantry and martyrs down here, and it's got a Panzer formation with a couple, I think 3 platoons. It's a full company of Leo 1s and a Luch armored car, reconnaissance vehicle. It's like, well, here's something else that you have to try to remember. You got all these little triangles on here. What does the triangle mean? Well, the triangle means different things depending on what color it is. Uh-oh, it's a Luch. It's a recon vehicle. Yep, brown is recon. All right, so that's easy to remember. So like I said, I thought I was going to be a bit intimidated and a bit worried about what all the different coloring is. But again, once I realized, oh, well, brown is for recon, and so I'm only going to see those on recon vehicles, I know that recon is a brown triangle. Simple enough. Okay, so we got 2 different formations, and we also have another formation coming in starting on turn 2 of a couple helicopters. The German, I can't even remember what the helicopter types were, but they're not the heavily fancy armored Apaches or Cherokees that the U.S. used. It's their own homegrown version. That comes in on starting on turn 2. I have an airstrike of Alpha Jets that can show up. Alpha Jet close air support. And I need to check the rules on that. I can't remember I use that every turn, or if it's a one strike only. Well, when it pops up, we're going to have to try to figure it out. And what do we do? Well, let's take a look. There we go. Let's take a look at the card. Alpha Jet Close Air Support. It's a close air support. It's a close air support. Rule 4.0. Well, now I know exactly where I have to go to rather than trying to look through the index and trying to figure out where in the rules it is. The pertinent information's on the cards, translates right into where they are in the book. Pretty cool. All right, so this is the objective that I need to take. I need to take at least 4 hexes, and I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 hexes, and the Soviets are dug in pretty deep. Lots of infantry, couple tanks, T-62s, BMPs. It's a reinforced company, basically. And then a reinforced company of motorized rifles up here with some T-55s. Those T-55s. Focus. Oh, come on. Swear to God, I'm going to go back to my other camera. Yeah, T-55s. So they probably aren't going to put up much fight against the Leos, but they will tear up Panzer Grenadiers. Anyways. Yeah, those Panzer Grenadiers. All right, so let's take a look at the sequence of play. Not much has changed from the original to now. Initiative phase. Phase 0.0, turn 1 only. If one side or the other has initiative as assigned by the modular scenarios, a specific formation with the initiative, each execute a formation impulse in any order the initiative player desires. So basically, if the scenario says one side or one formation has initiative, they get to do basically a free turn before you jump into the operations and start pulling chits. Well, not chits anymore, flipping cards. Phase 1, to begin the operation phase, or continue it after cards' activities are completed, you draw a card from the top of the formation deck. See the descriptions depending on which card you draw. You got end ops, close air support, electronic warfare, battle. Oh, I did put the. We don't have any electronic warfare. That's defined by scenario, so we don't have to worry about that. But I did put the battlefield event friction card. It's an optional thing. I put it in there. Why not? Just let's throw a headache. And confuse myself even more. Then, or if you draw a formation, designated or scratch force card, and then it goes into a formation, refresh, command status, missile reload. They changed how the missile rules work. I'll be getting to that when we come to it. Disruption removal, offboard artillery strikes, and then actions. And then actions is defined as movement, direct fire, movement of fire, onboard, indirect fire, assault. And then, after all the actions are done, if no cards remain in the formation deck, proceed to marker removal phase, yada, yada, yada. And marker removal phase is remove, adjust, check, yada, yada, yada. All the good bookkeeping stuff. So, since we're going to be starting off with this, neither side has initiative. I don't think either side has initiative. No. Nope. Nobody has initiative, so we draw as normal. Now, again, familiar with the original system, you had a bunch of chits. I kind of like the chits. I like drawing the chits and having my chit pulling cup, but it actually does make more sense to have the cards because the cards are bigger. You can see the cards better now. And it just makes life a little bit easier, in my opinion. So, all right, so you start off pulling a formation card. So what do we have? Oh, battlefield event friction. Okay, starting off with a bit of a headache for me already. So let's go to the sequence of play chart. Operation phase. We drew a battlefield event friction card. Roll on the battlefield event and, if necessary, battlefield friction table. Resolve the effect of the result. Events are not optional, but it is not possible for them to be executed. And events are not optional, but if it is not possible for them to be executed, they are ignored. If a weather change is rolled, see 16.5. So that tells us everything we need to do. So we go to the battlefield friction table, and I've got it right here because I pulled it out because I had a feeling I was going to be needing it. Yes, here it is. Right here. Battlefield friction, and you've also got battlefield events. You start off on the friction. There's a chance that that it can go to the battlefield events, but you always start off with the friction side first. That roll on here could possibly tell you to go to events. Where's my dice? Where's my dice? Where's my dice? And this game takes buckets of dice. Get out a few dice and set it to the side. So it's a 2d6. And I've got my handy dandy cup here. So what did we get? We got a 10. 10, working as intended. Okay, working as intended. Affects one side. If it moves, it can be stopped. Your opponent chooses one of your units and rolls 1d6. On 1d3, there is no effect. On a 4 through 6, reduce the chosen unit. Now, how do we decide who it affects? Well, I'm going to have to break out the rule book for that. I think it's random if it says one side. So let's take a look. Like I said, I knew this was going to be a headache by putting it in because there's more rules. Now, I'll admit that I am more comfortable with this system than 90% of the other systems I play. I'm most familiar with this rule set, mainly because it was originally a really easy rule set. If I know something like Chutes and Ladders for Devon. But even still, I go to the rule book all the time. Okay, when the event card is drawn, roll 2d6, yada yada. Okay, on these two tables, in the side affected column, some events frictions are listed as global. They affect both sides. Okay. In some events, apply to only one side. In such a case, roll 1d6. The result is 1 through 3. The NATO allied player executes the event. On a 4 through 6, the Warsaw Pact allied player executes the event. All right, so let's go ahead and roll. And it's going to be a 1, so that is the NATO executes the event. So let's go back and read the event, which is working as intended. Your opponent, okay, so this is affecting the U.S. player. The opponent chooses one of your units, rolls a 1d6. On a 1 through 3, there is no effect. On a 4 through 6, reduce the chosen unit. Well, they're probably going to go for one of the Leo units. So let's go with this Leo unit right here. Leopard. And it's a 4. It is reduced. So she's going to go ahead and get flipped at the beginning of the game. You can always tell the reduced side is right where the formation color is. The reduced side, half of it is in white. So that is how, at a glance, you can tell if it's a reduced unit. So it's already starting off the game, probably some maintenance issues, not really going good for the West Germans right out the get-go, because they've lost a Leo unit, and that's not a good thing right off the bat. All right, so that's the first card. Let's go ahead and draw the next card. Oh, end of operations. That's not good. I'm going to keep that out, keep that down just to remind myself that we have hit one end of operations turns. There are 3 end of operations cards. I believe there's 3. No, 2 end of operations cards. In this deck, we've already hit 1. When you hit the second one, turns over, moves on to the next turn. All right. All right, there we go. 4, 152 Panzer in the Dia. All right, so let's take a look at the card real quick. So it gives the formation, 4th Company, 152nd Battalion, Panzer Grenadier. Morale of the formation, range of the formation when it's full strength, range of the formation, or the HQ formation when it's reduced. So we are now into an actual operation turn. Where is my sequence of play? Sequence of play, formation, impulse, step. All right, so refresh, remove ops complete and out of command markers. Beginning of the game, it's this formation right here. They got no markers to remove, so we don't have to worry about it. Command status, reassign leaders, deploy headquarters, and check for command effects. All right, in this game, and you might have been able to do this in later versions of the game. I didn't play all the games of the original World of War series, but your headquarters can now shift from formation to formation. You do that at the beginning of the turn, and basically I think it's just a command check. So if you want your headquarters to move, it's not an actual it is a physical piece, but it's not an actual, it doesn't have to stay where it is attached to all the time like it used to be in the original version. So at this point, you reassign leaders if you have any leaders. They're special. They're special. They're kind of like mini command teams, but they can't move around. You attach them to one thing, they stay there, but they can be assigned during this turn or during this phase. Deploy headquarters. Again, headquarters can be destroyed if the unit they're attached to is takes damage, is wiped out, and then they have to be redeployed. So you do that right now. And check for command effects. That's just like the original game. You look at whatever range your command range is. And as we said before, our command range is 5 because the headquarters is at full strength. As long as any of the subunits of the formation are within 5 hexes of the headquarters, you don't have to check for command. If it's outside that, you got to roll for command and control. But everybody's within 5 hexes, we don't need to roll it. So next we have is missile reload. They reworked the missile system a little bit, and I'll get more to that when we actually start shooting missiles. Disruption removal. Check to remove disruption markers. Again, that hasn't changed from the original, I don't think, very much. Roll equal to or less than your command rating, you get to remove a disruption marker. Off-board artillery strikes. Execute up to 2 off-board artillery strikes. Now, this has changed a little bit. Used to be it was just headquarters and recon units, like our lovely little Luke here, could only execute off-board artillery strikes. Not that way anymore. Anybody can execute a artillery strike, but if it's not a headquarters or a recon unit, they have to make a command check or a spotting check. Specifically, what is it called? Direct fire, assault indirect. Spotters, page 74. Okay. Hex may be spotted for indirect artillery fire by activated formations headquarters or any active unit with a red recon special ability triangle. For onboard, that's only onboard only. Okay, so for onboard artillery strikes, any activated unit passing a spotter check. All right, so got that a little bit wrong, got it a little bit right. Offboard artillery still has to be a recon unit or a headquarters. Is that brown or is that red? I think the lighting in here. Nope, that's a brown. Come on. I swear to God, I'm going to have to switch to my other camera because at least it autofocuses. Is that a brown or is that a red? You know what? Let's take a look at the master chart to see if there is a brown. Since this is the prototype, the coloring isn't exactly perfect. Yeah, it's going to have to be. Well, no. No, that's gray. We're going to say that that's red. So sometimes the coloring is just a touch off. I kind of got confused. Again, like I said, this is prototype. That almost kind of looks green to me, and I was kind of confused because the green AP and HE numbers, green indicates that it's a anti-tank guided missile, but I know the ZISU is a 40 millimeter anti-aircraft weapon, so I had to take it. Let's try adding a little bit more light. See if the light works a little bit better. So is that? Oh, that is red. All right, yeah. So, my eyesight is horrible. Let's see, turn on even more light. See if that'll help. Can we tell right there? Okay. Yeah, I can tell it's okay. So I just need to have more light. All right, so the headquarters really can't see anything, so it's not like they're going to be able to call in any artillery strikes. I don't have any reconnaissance, or this formation doesn't have any reconnaissance units, so I don't have to worry about that. So we got no off-board artillery strikes. Then you go into actions, and that's your fire, movement, move and fire, on-board direct, assault, all that good stuff. All right, so we're just going to just jump into this. So this is the formation. I need to get here. Now, I checked, and I hope I've got the line of sight down. I'm pretty sure I've got the hill line of sight down, but I'm sure. And if I'm wrong, I'm sure people are going to point it out. I don't mind being wrong. I'm going to be wrong quite often. You know, I'm just some guy that plays games. So sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. Especially when I'm playing solo, sometimes I don't get it exactly right. All right, well, let's turn the light on. It looks a little bit better. All right, so what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get these guys, and we're going to try to sneak them over here, get them into these woods. And we have so much glare on the board now. These woods in this city here start putting fire on the Soviets. Now, I think I can get there without catching any op fire from that formation. However, that formation, I think, is going to be able to pop a couple shots at me. Well, at least from those T-55s. And tanks have got the range now. They definitely changed a lot of the stats from the original. So the armor piercing or high explosive. Well, armor piercing's got a range of 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. So right there. Helps if I have the camera. So right there. All right. So maybe I don't have to worry too much. But they can extend range fire. So we may do that. All right, but let's go ahead and move the first unit first. So the headquarters is attached to the mortar. Actually, it'd be attached to the infantry. And the infantry is in the mortar. So movement of 6. And again, we kind of see the green circle around it indicates they are a transport, and they are transporting the infantry. So we go 1, because we're moving along a road, and no line of sight from anybody. Maybe there. Ooh. Nope, cuts those trees. So they're not going to be able to get, actually, I don't even think they're in range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, out of range. Oh, they could extend range fire. All right, so no op fire there. So 1, 2, we're on the road, so we pay road movement, which is basically just 1 point as long as you're following the road. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this is where line of sight with hills and such and slopes get tricky, especially if you're a veteran of lots of other tactical systems that make hill line of sight a pain in the butt. There are no slopes in this game. I know it looks like there's slopes on there. I mean, these are definitely slopey looking. No, it's a hill. It's a level 1. There is no slopes. So, and you can tell where the hill delineation is exactly by the white line. So, in other games, I'm looking at you, ASL, ATS, Panzerleader, Panzerblitz. Since this would be considered kind of a slope just because of the graphics of it, you might be able to see down the slope line or have some pancaking effects. No, this is considered a hill hex, which means it's a level 1. You can't see a target if you've got at least a 1 level difference between you, even if you're the same level. So, level 1, not be able to see or be seen any of these level 0 stuff out here, the ground. So you would think under other tactical systems that this T62 might be able to get a shot off, these different light. So that is good because that's going to keep those martyrs alive a little bit longer. So we've moved 1, 2, 3, 4 so far. So we go there for 5. Now, again, let's check some line of sights. Thought maybe from that T62, and yeah, I kind of pre-measured this stuff out. Oh, clips the woods there with that T55. Obviously, these are blocked. Now, what about that unit right there? Now, that unit right there can actually get some shots in because there's no block and there's no line of sight blocking between them. So what have we got here? We got a BMP, and we got some infantry. Now, the infantry is not going to be able to range in. They've got a range of 2. That's what the... Oh, come on. Stupid autofocus. First number is the range. So, range of 2. Can go out to extended range for double range, so that's only 4 hexes. So, they're right there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the infantry... 1, 2, 3. Infantry is not going to have the range, period, at all. However, that BMP could have both armor piercing and high explosive. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it could have extended range with its high explosive. However, it's not going to fire its high explosive. It's going to fire its armor piercing. And well, how do you determine what you're going to shoot at? What type of munitions you're going to use to shoot at the target? All right, so it's real easy. They made the delineations between hard armored, soft armored, and soft infantry level targets really easy to figure out. All right. All comes down to what, and it kind of was this way in the original, but it was written really poorly, and I always had a hard time trying to figure it out. This is a vehicle type, obviously, because it has a vehicle iconography on it. It doesn't have a NATO symbol for a support weapon or an infantry, and the armor save is either a 5 or a 6 with the yellow circle. So that tells you it is a soft or light armored target. Now, light armored targets can be shot at by AP, HE, ATGM, AAA, bunch of stuff can fire at it. If you have a unit that has the S in the defense with the yellow circle, that is a soft target. It's an infantry. It's an AT gun. It's not a vehicle. Now, there can be vehicles that are soft targets, Jeeps and Kubelwagens and, really lightly armored vehicles. And so that's considered a soft target. AP cannot fire at non-infantry soft targets. They can fire at vehicular soft targets, but non-infantry soft targets. So you can't fire anti-tank guided missiles or AP rounds at infantry. But since the infantry is in the vehicle, and I probably should not have put the headquarters out there in the lead from the front, damn it. We're firing at vehicular light armor, so we can use the BMPs. Well, at this stage, we can either use, come on, autofocus. We can either use their high explosive or their armor piercing. Well, if we use their high explosive, swear to God, I'm going to switch back to my other camera. The armor piercing or the high explosive value is going to be at long range, so we're going to lose, I think it's 1 firepower dice if we fire at long range. However, and plus we wouldn't be getting as many dice, and it wouldn't be as good of a to hit number. So we're going to use the guided missile because it's got the range to it, definitely. It's got 3 dice that we're attacking with, and we need 4 to hit as compared to range 3, or in this case, it'd be range 6. It would be 1 dice at 5 days. So it just makes better sense. Now, why would you not use it? Well, this is a guided missile. This is a ATGM. And they've reworked how you run out of ammunition for your missiles. Used to be in the original system that if you fired an anti-tank guided missile and it missed, it just flat out completely missed, you didn't score any hits with it, then it would be marked with you would be out of ammunition, and you would have to try to reload it. They did change it in this new updated. It's not based, their missile running out of ammunition with ATGMs is now based on a command roll rather than if you just miss. So you roll the dice, you conduct the attack with the guided missile, then you make a command check after that. And if you roll greater than the command check, then you're out of ammunition and have to try to reload real quick. Then during your operations phase for that formation, you have to make another check, and then there's a possibility that you can be completely out of ammunition, but we're not getting to that yet. So what we're going to do, what is it? Let's go ahead and put this in practice. We're going to op fire the BMP-1. So let's go ahead, get some, let's move some of my counters around here. My ops complete and disrupted bag. I got a separate bag for all those. So many counters this time. I don't think I'm going to be running out of ops complete and disruption markers like I used to all the time when I was playing the original. So let's just go ahead and take ops complete. We're going to be firing. So we're going to be putting the ops complete on the BMP because we're op firing. And that means they're going to be ops complete. And we already know range 11, it's going to be within range. It's going to be 3 dice at 4. There's going to be no modifiers. There's no obstructing terrain or anything like that. So we're going to be rolling 3 dice at 4s to hit that. Oh, and since it's a guided missile, it has a minimum range. It has to be at least 3 hexes away. So you can't fire most ATGMs at point blank or with same hex, 1 hex, or 2 hexes. Well, same hex would be assault. Can't use it in assault anyways. So it has to be at least 3 hexes away. We're at least 3 hexes away, so we're going to fire. So we need 3 dice at 4 to hit. And we got a 6 and a 4. So we got 2 hits. See that right there? We got 2 hits, which is not good for the BMP, or for the Martyr. Now we've got to roll their defense. Their defense is a 6. So that means they get 1 dice at 6. They're not in any protective terrain or anything. Probably should have thought that advance a little bit better. So they need a 6 to try to save one of the hits. Oh, no, that's a 4. That's a 4, so it's not going to save. So the Martyr is going to take 2 hits. Just like in the previous, first hit is going to disrupt. Second hit is going to reduce. Now, it's a transport, and it's carrying troops, so we have to see what happens to those troops. Let's take a look real quick. Under transport, let's just take a look at one of our cards. 9.5. Because again, all transports basically have them. Granted, well, all right, you know what? Let's do this procedurally. Look at the, where is it? Martyr. It's a transport, ground transport. 9.8. So we looked up rules 9.8. 9.8, which saves me the hassle of trying to flip through the index. 9.8, loading, unloading. Okay, where is it? Combat liftoff. Uh-oh, direct fire actions. Is it under there? Unloading, unloading assault, loading, unloading op fire. All right, maybe it's under fire then. Results versus transport units and passengers. All right, if a transport unit is disrupted, its passengers are disrupted. If a transport unit removes this disruption marker, so does the passengers. If a ground transport unit is reduced, roll a d6. On a result 1 through 3, the passengers are not affected. On a 4 through 6, the passengers are reduced, rolling as usual for the reduction wounding of attached to headquarters or leaders. So we have to roll. Since the transport was disrupted or reduced, so the infantry is going to be reduced as well. And we also have to roll the headquarters to see if the headquarters takes a loss. So the rules for headquarters, I think it's on a 6, or is it a 1? I know they changed the rolls a little bit because it used to be just a flat out roll. Now I think it's if it's a 1, and then if the unit was destroyed, or if it wasn't destroyed, you subtract 2 from, or something silly like that. I'm just babbling. Let me take a look real quick. Headquarters. Reduce strength on suppressing. Deployment damage results, page 63. Okay. If a unit stacked with a HQ or leader is reduced, roll 1d6 for HQ or leader in the hex. If one unit stacked with a is eliminated instead, okay. If a unit stacked with a HQ is eliminated with another roll, add 2 to the dice roll. Oh, okay. If If any unit stacked with an HQ or leader is reduced, roll 1d6 for HQ and leader in the hex. If one unit stacked with an HQ leader is eliminated instead, but another unit is still on the hex, roll and add 2 to the dice roll. Okay. So 1 through 3, HQ leader is not affected. 4 through 6, the HQ is reduced or the leader is wounded. An HQ that is already reduced remains reduced but is moved into the suppressed holding box. Leader is already wounded is eliminated. All right, so 1, 2, 3, we're fine. 4, 5, 6. 6. Just not doing good. So the HQ is reduced as well. Probably should not have put the headquarters unit out there like that by itself. In the advancing lead from the front. I make mistakes like that all the time. It was a calculated risk. Boy, dude, my bad at math. All right, so the ATGMs laced out, slammed into a couple of the martyrs, because remember, this is platoon scale, knocked a couple of the martyrs out. Some of the command staff was in those martyrs. Some of the infantry was in the martyrs, obviously. And since we're disrupted, that immediately stops their movement. Now, does that automatically unload them as well? I want to say that a transport that takes a hit automatically unloads. I could be wrong. That's the problem with having lots and lots of rule sets, especially at the tactical platoon scale. Okay. I don't think they're automatically unloaded. All right, can't find anything. Not going to worry about it. We're going to go that it doesn't unload them. All right, so we fired the ATGM. Now, we have to roll to see if that vehicle runs out of ammunition. And we got to roll against their command rating. Their command rating is a 6. So anything above a 6 and they run out of ammunition. 7. All right, so they are going to be low on ammunition, so they're going to be reloading. You take one of these new reloading missiles. I think it's this one. There are 2 new types of missiles. Let's check just to make sure. Make sure I'm procedurally doing this right. Artillery, anti-tank, ATGM. 62. Disruption effects. There we go. Okay, immediately after unit executes direct fire with its green AP value, ATGM armed units, or its blue AP value if it also has blue range, SAM units, roll 2d6. If the result is greater than its formation morale training level, place a missile reloading marker on the unit. Unit may not fire with its AP value until the marker is removed. All right, so I did have the right counter, so the BTR gets a missile reloading, has an ops complete, and it actually did a good job. All right, and honestly, that's probably going to be about the only thing I think that's going to op fire or be able to op fire. Anyways, we're continuing on with, so that was, the last half hour was just moving one unit and shooting at it. So let's go ahead and try to see if we can burn through this a little bit quicker. Let's go ahead and move here. I don't think... yeah, that clips the city, so they're not going to be able to shoot there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? I don't think we're going to move into that X because we're still in line of sight of the ATGMs up there. I can fire and move, can't I? I don't, well, maybe not. Let's see if that's an option. I can't remember. I don't think martyrs can fire and move. Maybe they can fire and move. It's just they don't have enhanced fire and move. Oh, well, I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'll take a look at that in a little bit. So we're going to actually just stop right there because we know we're not in line of sight to anybody. So we'll go ahead and mark them with ops complete. We'll go on to the final unit of the formation now. We're going to move one there. Actually, you know what? Let's move one there because... all right. It does kind of clip the city hex right there. So that's going to block line of sight. Now, I'm sure if I'd have moved right there, it would have been different. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Yeah, let's just go ahead and stop right there. The lead unit getting disrupted kind of threw all the plans. Again, no plan ever survives first contact. All right, so that's basically the first activation. And that was a half-hour long roundabout way of getting there. I promise I'll make the turns go a little bit quicker. Trying to explain too much of the rules while trying to play the game at the same time. I should stop doing that. All right, so go to the next activation. So it's 367 Guards Motorized Rifle Regiment. So, okay, we take a look at this. First of all, one of the first things you do, remove all the ops complete markers. Let's go ahead because we do have refresh, remove ops complete and out of command markers, right? Command status, reassign leaders, deploy headquarters, check for command status. Missile reload, roll missile reload status for units with missile ammo reload markers. Well, this is the time we do it now. So 7.3. And I think it's just a simple command check. Okay, each undisruptive active unit with a reloading missile marker on top may make a missile reload check to attempt to remove the marker from the unit. Roll 2d6 versus the unit's formation, morale training value. If the roll is equal to or less than the morale training value, the attempt succeeds and the reload marker is removed. If the result is greater than the morale training value, the reloading attempt fails. Consult missile ammo usage chart on the player aid card 5 and either leave the missile ammo reloading as it is or replace it with a missile ammo low marker or a no missile ammo marker as indicated on the chart. Well, let's go ahead and roll to see what we get before we start worrying about what charts and definitions we have to look at. So we got a 7, that's greater, so we don't remove the marker. So what chart do we look at? Missile ammo usage on the player A card, Pack 05 miscellaneous. Okay, again, I've got 20 charts, so it may take me a little bit. Pack 02, 3, 3, 1. Four. Digging into the box to find the right chart that I didn't think I was going to need. 9, 11, 10, 12. All right, where's chart 5? 2, 4. Is it one of those? Oh, that is one of those. No, that's Pack 06. Oh, there it is, Pack 05. Okay. Moving fiery summary chart. Is it on the back? It is on the back right there. Missile ammo usage chart. Okay, firing type. Transport ground vehicle with green ATM, infantry fighting vehicles with ATGMs. If the missile reload attempt fails, place a no missile ammo unit on the marker. Well, that's why sometimes you don't always want to fire your anti-tank guided missiles, because sometimes you're going to end up by running out of ammunition. I have a feeling that happens with the pack units more than the US, because pack units are lower command, so they typically have a command rating of 6, whereas most NATO and NATO allies have a command rating of 7. So we take the no missile ammo. So that unit is actually out of missiles, ATGMs, and can't fire its ATGM factor anymore this game. Now this is a huge change from the original system. The mechanics are completely different for how the missile systems work now. And obviously we've just seen that. All right, so it's still 367 Guards Motorized Rifle Regiment's turn. So we did all the bookkeeping, command range. Where's the headquarters? I think I put the headquarters right there. It's got a command range of 4. Everything's in command. I don't need to roll for out of command for anything. So now basically the unit gets to do its actions. What do I want to do with these? Oops. These guys should not be reduced. Well, obviously we see that the Germans are moving towards that line right there. So we should probably move up there to try to blunt them a little bit. Let's go ahead and take this guy. And since these guys are already marked ops complete, it's not like I'm going to be able to op fire with them. And it's not like I'm going to have line of sight with anything up here. Well, maybe there. Yeah, I probably have line of sight. Probably have line of sight from there to there. But if we move the infantry, he's not going to be able to fire. What's his? Yeah, because his HE range is only 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double it. 6, 7, 8. 9. Yeah, way out of range. So the infantry can move up without having to worry about it. So let's go ahead and move the infantry up just because. So let's go 1. I think cultivated is 1. Take a look at the terrain chart. Had the terrain chart. Cultivated. Okay, so cultivated, movement cost for ground troops is 1. So yeah, 1 point to move into cultivated. So we got 1, and then to move into a city with ground troops is also 1. So we got 2 right there. So he made it right there. Mark them ops complete. Oh, you know what? I have to look. 1, 2, okay, because we know the command range is only 4 hexes. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so he don't want to move these guys out of command range. So he's still within range. Let's go ahead and move this infantry up as well. We'll go 1, 2. Moving into a woods is going to be 1 point as well. So 3. So we're going to mark them as ops complete. Is there any other infantry? No, I don't think. 1, 2, 3. Then I'll leave them out in the open. Yeah, no. I was thinking of moving this infantry down there as well. 1, 2, like moving. You know what? Yeah, let's get that line of infantry down there. 1, 2, 3. And again, nobody's really got the range to op fire on them. The armor piercing rounds from the Leo have the range, but the high explosive does not, and I can't use armor piercing against soft infantry targets. So the infantry is moving up. 3 movement points, so he'll be ops complete there in the open, which I think will be fine. These guys have got no missile ammo, which makes them basically a big target. So let's go ahead and pull them back. 1, because we're following the road. It's going to be 1 movement point to move into there. Actually, can I do that? Again, so many rules, so many scales. There's 2 units already in that hex. Can I move through it by overstacking or not? See, these are little questions that always crop up while I'm playing. Movement, stacking. Let's take a look at stacking, because some rule sets I've played allow you to move through an overstacked hex. Others don't let you allow you to move through it at all. So many rules. 9.2. Stacking. Stacking restrictions apply at all times, including during movement. If moving through a friendly hex would result in there being more than 2 units, the move must be made around the hex. See, that's important. So I need to move around rather than through. So I can't move through there with that guy. So I'm going to have to move around. And a city hex is 2 for a ground vehicle. So since there's no road connecting here, I can't follow the road. So it's going to be 2 movement points to move there. It's going to be 2 movement points to move there. And then 2 movement points to move there because we're not following the road into any of those hexes. We're just kind of driving through them. And we'll kind of keep him in his reserve because he's basically worthless at this point until infantry get close. So that's going to be hit with him. Let's see. You know what? Let's go ahead and take this. Nope, I don't think. Well, might have line of sight. That Leo up there might have line of sight. He would have line of sight. Do I want to risk moving the T-62 up there? Into there? We'll catch the op fire from that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It'll be at long range. It's 4 dice at 5. Yeah, you know what? I think he's going to go ahead and risk it. Let's go ahead and move right there. Mark him ops complete. But that's going to trigger the op fire from that Leo unit. And so he's got 11 range, 4 dice at 5. And since he's extended range, it's -1 firepower. Or +1 to hit. I can never remember that. Let us check. And of course, I know there are people out there going, "You idiot, it's this modifier." Long range, page 61. Thank God this has got a decent index in it. Makes it so much easier. Long range, +1 to hit. So it's going to be +1 to hit, not -1 firepower. So it's going to be 4 dice at 5 normally, but since it's long range, it's going to be 4 dice at 6. So I'm going to take 4 dice. At 6, nothing. No hits. Big goose egg. So don't have to worry about rolling any defensive dice because they all missed. And therefore, I think what we're going to move is the Zissou is then going to move up because I realized having the Zissou behind the village was a bad idea for trying to shoot at any helicopters that are going to be coming on Nape of the Earth or any close air support. So we go ahead and move him up into that hex right there. And I think that's good. I think we like this defensive line. Yeah, everything, 1, 2, 3, everything's in command range so far. As long as the headquarters doesn't get reduced, because if the headquarters gets reduced, then the command range is reduced to 3, which could be some problems for these outlying infantry units. But that's going to be it for them. So that's it for that card. What's next? Up to 153 Panzer, which are these guys up here. Let's go ahead and remove the ops complete markers. All right, so we got ops complete. We're all in command because the command range for the 2nd Company, 153rd Battalion, the Panzers are range 5. Headquarters is right there. All right, so we go straight into operations. Got no artillery to call. Headquarters is back here. Yeah, see, I put the headquarters in the back smartly for these guys. I should have done that with the Panzer Grenadiers. But first of all, we're going to move the recon, and I'm kind of glad this formation activated first because I was worried about the T-62 getting some shots on this Luch armored car up here. So we're going to go, first of all, we're going to go right like that. But, however, that is going to trip some fire, possibly. Nope, that's crossing the woods. So, what do I want to do with those guys? I want to get them into a decent position where I can call artillery in while having a little bit of defense. I don't want to get shot up. All right, so let's go. Let's see. Woods is ground vehicles 2 movement points. So we've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was going to give them good eyes on most everything out there. However, it is going to trigger some op fire. So we're going to have one unit doing op fire at them. Let's just go ahead and grab our ops complete now. And since the T-55s are both identical, let's take a look at this. All right, so it is a light armored vehicle. The Luke is a light armored vehicle because it has the vehicle symbol and it's got a 6 in its armor rating, so it's a light armored vehicle. So that means I can use either my HE or AP, and honestly, the AP is better because we're going to get 3 dice at 6 rather than a high explosive of 2 dice at 6, and well, we're well within range. So we're going to be doing 3 dice at 6s. One hit. Pop. Oh. Okay, so defensive dice rolls. It's a light armored vehicle. It gets 1, but it's in woods, so it gets an additional 1. So it's get 2 dice. It has 2 dice at 6 because that's what its armor rating is. See right there, it's a 6. We get 1 naturally, and then 1 point for being in the woods. So 2 dice at 6 to try to reduce the 1 hit. Nope. Pop. It gets hit. So first hit is always a disrupted. What's fine is being disrupted is fine. It's the reduction that we don't like. We don't like the reduction. But okay, yeah, that's fine. We got that. So let's what do we want to do now? These guys, 1, 2. And of course, being disrupted immediately cancels any more movement points that they would have left. And there's no sense putting a ops complete on it because a disrupted unit can't do anything anyways. So, I mean, if you wanted to put an ops complete on a disrupted unit, you could. It's just, it's not going to do any good. So 1, 2. Do I want to? I could drive out here. Let's see. I think they have enhanced move and fire. Leo's enhanced move and fire. Let's take a look. What am I talking about? Again, we've got these great cards here. And I think that's indicated by the orange numbers, indicating them as enhanced move and fire. So let's take a look at the enhanced move and fire 11.0, what that does for us. It means we can move and shoot at the same time, but we lose numbers. Move and fire actions. Okay. NATO allied with orange AP or HE expended more than half, -1 firepower dice. That's the only effect. Okay, there's a chart in there. I could show it, but we'll be getting back to it eventually. Actually, no, I'm not worried about it. All right, so yeah, so he's going to move and fire. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to move him right there. Now, the problem is, since he's moving right there, that is going to trip the op fire from the other T-55. So the other T-55 is going to go op fire, and obviously is going to be using its armor piercing because you can't use high explosive. Okay, so how can you tell if a vehicle is a heavily armored vehicle? It has more than 1 number in its armor rating. It's got a 3-6. That's its armor rating. That means it's a heavy armored vehicle. High explosives can't shoot at that. Mostly. There are a few units that if you get close enough with them, you can use high explosive to fire at heavy armored vehicles. They're listed per module. I think in this one there's 3 units, and they're all NATO units. Stupid autofocus. I keep hitting the autofocus button, but it doesn't seem to do anything. All right, so we're looking at them. Let's see, range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're within range. And what's their stats again? 3 at 6? Yes, 3 at 6. So they get 3 dice at 6. And the Soviets are just right on. 1 hit. So it's 1 hit is a 6. Now the Leo has 3 dice at 6 armor. It gets no other armor because there's no defending terrain. So we need at least 1 6. And of course not. 255. So guess what? They get disrupted as well. First hit always disrupts. Boy, These Soviets are just friggin' spot on today. Are there any other tanks there? Oh, there's another tank there I'm going to have to worry about. Balls. I have a feeling someone's going to be catching some DPICM. All right, so that's that unit. Let's move another unit up. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got to move up. So, and that's going to trip that T-70 or T-55 to fire. Again, 3 dice at 6. However, it's stacked with a headquarters unit, so it gets 2 additional dice on its firepower. So it's got 5 dice at 6. This could be bad. Okay, 1 hit. Again, 1 hit. 1, 2, 4, 4, 6. And again, they get 3 dice at 6. The Leos get 3 dice at 6. And hey, there we go. All right, so we got a 6, reduces the number of hits they take by 1, and therefore it shrugs the 1 hit off. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it want to keep moving? No, it doesn't want to keep moving. It is going to, however, take a pot shot at one of the T-55s right there, because they're sitting in the open. All right, so they're moving in fire, and since they have the orange numbers, orange firepower numbers, the 4 and the 3, they have enhanced, and since they're NATO, that means they're just -1 firepower dice. So normally they're at 4 dice at 5. Now, since their firepower dice is reduced by 1, they're at 3 dice at 5. Make sure I got that right. Just to make sure, because I confuse myself all the damn time. Yes, firepower. So we got 3 dice. Normally I have 4 dice at 5. Now we got 3 dice at 5. Let's try to give some loving back to the T-55s. Nothing. 3, 3, 4. Nothing. All right, so let's go ahead and move the last unit up. 1, 2, 3. Fudge. I blocked myself. Damn it. 2. Oh, that bites. Since I already have 2 units there, I can't move. Oh, I should have moved 1 more hex. See, kids, these are little tactical exercises that you need to remember, and don't block yourself in. Since there's already 2 units there, I can't move through it, and I can't move around it because there's a stream there. So we're going to have to just stop right there. And okay, so is there anything I can see? Yeah, I can see these units down here. Can't see right there. So what do we got right here? We got the ZISU, and we got a T-62. I think what we're going to do is we're going to fire at the T-62. Range of 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, we got the range. It's normally 4 dice at 5, but we're enhanced fire and move, so it's 3 dice at 5. With the headquarters, we get 2 extra dice. That's what that 2 on the headquarters, since it's a full strength headquarters. Oh, come on. Since it's a full strength headquarters, it has the bonus of 2. Actually, yeah, they didn't take any hits. So, normally 4 dice at 5, 6 dice at 5 with the headquarters, 5 dice at 5 with the enhanced fire and move. Hey, there we go. 3 hits. Pop, pop, pop. There we go. Finally, some West Germans can actually shoot some stuff. All right, so we'll take a look at the T-62. They've got 3 dice at 6, but they're in a building, or they're in city, not a building, and a city gives them a vehicle an additional 1d6. So they're looking at 4 dice at 6 to reduce the number of hits, and we have 3 hits out there. Now watch me roll all 6s. Okay, boom, boom, boom. That's better. That's what we like to see. No saves. So that T-62 takes 3 hits. First hit, disrupts. Second hit, inflicts a step loss. Pop. Third hit, inflicts a step loss. Well, there's only 1 unit in there, so it's going to be disrupted, step loss, for a grand total of 2 step losses and disrupted. It can only take 2 step hits, so pop! It is destroyed. Dead T-62s. Yay! That's what we like to see. Let's drag out a wreck marker. Now, a little something else that changed. First of all, let's go ahead and put the wreck marker there. I'm not sure I like the graphics of the wreck marker. I mean, overall, it goes with the theme of the rest of the game. I'm not a fan of those graphics. I kind of actually was more of a fan of the old graphics where it was just a, silhouette view of a burning wreck. But hey, whatever. I'm sure other people like this more than I do. And at the end of the day, my opinions at this stage of the game, seeing as how everything's already gone off to the printers, doesn't really matter for much. Is it something I can live with? Yes. But, like I said, preferences. Okay, Rubble. This is a new rule that kind of came in with this version. So let's go ahead and look at this. Rubble. And you can tell it's a new ruling because it's in blue. If a net result of 3 or more hits are inflicted in one direct or indirect fire attack on a unit or stack after any defensive bonus saves and or armor saves in any city, town, woods, light jungle, or jungle hex. There's no light jungle in Germany. Maybe a future module. Actually, I know it's a future module. I'm not going to say which one. You can go look for yourself. But it might have something to do with Vietnam. Or any terrain designated in a module scenario, immediately roll a 1d6 to determine if the hex becomes a rubble and or if a fire is ignited. On a result of 1, 2, 3, there is no effect. A result of a 4, the hex is rubble. Place a rubble marker in the hex. That hex now uses rubble lines on the terrain effects chart for all purposes. If the result is a 5 and the hex does not already contain a burnt out marker, a major fire is ignited in that hex. What happens if we roll a 6? If the result is a 6, the hex is rubbled and a fire also is ignited. Place both a rubble and a fire marker in the hex immediately after applying the fire effects as if you had rolled a 5. So, 3 or more hits on certain terrain types in the game has a chance of doing bad things to the hex. 6, of course. Because as our first playthrough with the new rules, we're going to have to go through it all. All right, so it is going to be rubbled, and it is going to be on fire, which is not a good thing, really. Let's see if I can find... There's the fire marker. There's a burnt out marker. Now, the one thing I love about this is that all the administration markers are the same on the front and the back. So you don't have to worry about trying to flip counters over. I mean, if it's a wreck on one side, it's a wreck on the other side. That is just phenomenal. That does, of course, increase the counter count. There it is. There's a rubble. All right, so let's take a look at what we got. There's the rubble marker, and there's the fire marker. So they both get a rubble and a fire marker on there, as well as the wreck marker being there. All right. A major fire is ignited in the hex. Place a fire marker in the hex. Any wrecks, IPs, and or cleared markers in the hex are immediately removed from the map. All right, so the wreck marker is removed. So we don't have to worry about the wreck marker on there. Minefield markers of either type remain in the hex. Then attempt to retreat any units in the hex as if they'd lost an assault action. There's no units in there. So we don't have to worry about retreating any units. Helicopters immediately change mode to attempt to retreat one hex. There's no helicopters there. All right, there you go. So, yeah. So, yeah. It's possible the fire can spread. Yeah, fire in the city. Not a good thing. You ever played ASL? You know what happens when fires start up and they start to spread all over the place. Fires are actually checked. Let's take a look at our sequence of play again. Where would... where is it? Okay, be at the end of the turn during marker removal. Adjust and or remove smoke and smoke thinning. Add or reduced EW. Check for fire marker effects, spreading fire, and fire burnout. So at the end of the turn, During the marker removal phase, we're going to have to check to see if that fire either burns itself out or spreads. The bad thing is, infantry, you can't capture a hex that's on fire. It's going to be really bad if that entire city catches on fire and starts to burn to the ground and doesn't burn itself out, and I can't capture the hexes. That is what's called a bad thing. But again, that's another new little rule, and I like it because, I mean, there is battlefield damage that happens when you're firing at each other with 120 and 155 millimeter, very large, big bore, depleted sabot, high explosive incendiary rounds, throwing 150 millimeter artillery strikes and all over them. You're going to have rubble. So that's one of the new little rules, and like I said, I kind of like it. Wasn't expecting to run into it this so quickly. But, yeah, okay, so that's the end of the Panzer or the Panzers. All right, next card. Whoops. I'm going to mark these guys with an ops complete. All right, what do we got? End of operations. Well, there you go. Okay, that's the end of operations, so that's the end of the turn. So let's go to... Okay, operations phase is concluded. Game markers are removed and adjusted as necessary in the specific sequence. So 2.1, remove ops complete and out of command markers. 2.31, that's really easy. Remove ops complete markers. There's no out of command markers because no one was out of command last turn. So we take off all the ops complete markers, and now we can see the battlefield a little bit more. So pretty. Pretty colors everywhere. Adjust and or remove smoke and smoke thinning. We don't have any. Adjust and or remove EW and EW reducing markers. Again, no EW in this one. Check for fire marker effects, spreading fire, and fire burnout, 2.3.4. Again, wasn't planning on jumping into those rules so quick, but the dice just seem to love me. And hey, needed to show it to you eventually anyways. All right, check if fire burns out. Roll 1d6 for each fire hex. If you roll a 6, the fire marker is removed. If the hex is a city or town hex, replace it with a rubble marker. Otherwise, replace it with a burned out marker. Okay. Bridge collapse, nope. Mine depletion from fire, nope. Spreading fire, check for spreading fire. Okay, so first of all, we got to see if the fire burns out. 3, no, it does not burn out. Check for spreading fire. Roll 1d6 for each city, town, woods, light jungle, or any terrain indicated by module or scenario rule adjacent to a fire marker. If the result is 1 through 3, there is no effect. On a 4 through 6, place a new fire marker in the effective hex and immediately attempt to retreat any ground units in that hex as if they had lost an assault action. Any ground units which cannot retreat out of the new fire hex are eliminated. Wow, really that high? Result is 4 through 6? Ugh. It's a 50% chance. All right, so we got this hex here. What do we got? 3. Okay, fire doesn't spread there. We got a city hex here. That would be really bad if it spreads into that hex. 5. It will spread into that hex, and that building, that hex right there. 2 doesn't spread into there. Okay, so it will spread. I need to find another fire marker. Again, was not expecting to have this happen so soon in the game. Thanks, Leo's making my life difficult. All right, so they're going to go right there. Now, everybody in here needs to retreat as if they lost an assault. And that is going to be under rules section. And I just had it. 2.34. 2.34, and lost an assault action, rule 13.2. Again, the rulebook has great cross-referencing. Okay, retreating from an ambush. Retreating unit must move into one of 3 hexes opposite the hex side the attacker entered from. The retreating unit cannot enter an enemy-occupied hex, a hex adjacent to an enemy unit, a hex that is already occupied to stacking them by friendly, a hex that is prohibited from entering by terrain, effects chart. Unit unable to retreat is eliminated. So we're going to assume that the assault, as it were, would be from the direction that the fire came from. So the fire is coming this direction, so it has to move into one of the 3 hexes opposite it. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a problem because we've got 2 units. Well, I suppose both units could retreat into there, but you know what? Oops, come back here. Let's move the headquarters down here. And let's move the BTR, or the BMP, right there. Now, they are not marked with an ops complete marker when they do that. The fire marker's right there. Objective marker A is left in the hex just because it's a administrative type. And we got, this is going to be bad. Fire's going to drive all those Soviets out of there in a heartbeat. Oh, God, this is going to be a mess. Okay, check for fire effect. Move suppressed HQs to their respective HQ support. We don't have that. Transfer INF, not armed, support weapons to another eligible unit. Nope. Return cards to the deck and or end turn ops cards. Remove squall marker from its box. Remove chemical strike marker. Okay. So, we had one formation that didn't activate at all. This formation right here. So, what we need to do is we need to hold out one end operations card out of the deck, and that will go back in. I think it's by formation. Let's check that just to make sure. 2.37. Gee, we were just there. I think it's by formation. If a formation did not activate during that turn, the player withholds all but one of the end operation cards from the deck and places that formation's HQ counter on it. Both players may end up with an end operations card this way. If an HQ is in the suppress box, place it now on the card instead. More than one formation may be affected that way, yada, yada, yada. During the next turn, the HQ is deployed as usual when its formation card is drawn. If there are more friendly HQs in the card, player retains the end operation. Okay, so basically, long-winded way of going about this formation did not activate. So we grab its card, which is the 242nd Guards Motorized Rifle Regiment. Let's go ahead and put this off to the side here. And you physically take the headquarters, forgot to remove that ops complete. Physically take the headquarters marker and place it on the card. Now, it's okay, because remember, you can move your headquarters around or you can redeploy them at the beginning of your turn. So it really doesn't matter that the headquarters is currently off, because the headquarters don't do anything for you in defense anyways. They only help you on when it's your turn. So that, whoops, it's not that card we hold out. It's the end operations card. So that's held off to the side, and the actual formation card goes into the deck. Now, this end operations card will not go back into the deck until we pull this formation. Now, like it said, it's possible that you can have multiple headquarters that don't end up with any operation. It's possible that both sides can end up with formations that didn't activate or move or just didn't activate. Each one of them get an end operations card. So it's a little bit different how the original rules were, because I think it was just if one side didn't have a formation activate. No, anyways, it's to ensure that at least this formation will get to activate before before a second end operations turn is drawn in the next turn, ensuring that it will get to activate in the next turn. And so basically, you just reshuffle the cards. And just reshuffle them however you want, whatever your preferred method is. Put it back on the formation deck and move the turn to turn 2. Now, on turn 2, we actually have a new formation showing up, 511 AHR, which is the West German helicopters. And I have them marked on the turn 2. They'll get 2 helo units that they'll bring on this turn. Their formation card is in there. I'll just go ahead and put these helo units off to the side. So if and when the formation card is pulled, I'll know to bring the choppers in. And that, boys and girls, in a really, really long, convoluted, roundabout way of getting there. Again, I was describing a lot of the rules. some of the changes from the old system to the new system, to talking my tactics and such like that, and had a couple things crop up that I wasn't planning on. Battlefield events and Rubble in a hex and fires burning everywhere. Went a little bit longer than I expected, but that's okay. We don't mind because we're having fun. Oh, that is turn 1 of Scenario 10. Storming the Gap, World of War 85, Lock and Load Publishing. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, and I know there's going to be some in the comment section. I'll see everybody later. See ya.